Good evening, cult members of Bugs the Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
Welcome to our instantly after the episode reaction to Daredevil, episode 4. This one is titled, and I did, Sic Semper Cementa? Systema?
Sic Semper Systema.
Systema.
Systema? Yeah.
Systema. Which roughly translates to thus always to the system. And system was what we dealt with in this episode.
Yep. Screw the system.
Yeah. We have discussed over the previous 3 episodes about the other story that they had done and how they went back and changed what they were doing about 3-4 episodes into filming. And I believe this is the last, or parts of this is the last of what they had kind of done, because they did some things with Muse in this episode where they started really like layering like the graffiti in, and they showed him taking somebody to the subway and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
But the actual conversation in this episode is how up is the system is.
Right.
Because a guy got out, had something bad happen in his life, but it wasn't really necessarily his fault. Got blamed for a death of a cop, got freed, and then was executed on the streets. And then a guy who just wanted to have some food is going back into jail because they'd rather spend more money to have him in jail than actually feed him and help him get ahead.
Right.
You have all of that layered in with Fisk seemingly wanting to do revitalization of the port area. And like, let's call a press conference and let's start. And his chief of staff pretty much said, you have to do this, then you have to do this first, but you have to do this first, but you have to do this first, but you have to do this first to even start that process. And even Fisk is butting up against the system.
Yeah, right.
And so it was just a very, I'm just going to say, a great episode of just putting that spotlight on the system and how it works both ways. It's not just the system keeping people down. It's the system is blocking what we think is actually something good. Fisk is trying to do something good.
Right. Yep. Which is how it is. I mean, that's how it is in real life. That's not fiction.
Yeah.
Right? That's how it is.
Yeah, I really like this show is doing some awesome heavy lifting for everything that they said to us before we were getting into it. Is that it was going to be much more than what the Netflix series was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I've seen that yet.
Yeah,
but we just rewatched the Netflix seasons, 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can't say, well, that's not how that was done. Because it was. There were times when it was just, a lot of story and Daredevil wasn't, Matthew wasn't being Daredevil, he was so. Yeah. It's not any really different than the show. I haven't really. I don't know that I've seen anything that's been more. I guess they'll get there.
I think because they layered some stuff in with Muse, and knowing that he uses people's blood and body parts as part of his art.
Yeah.
And they kind of showed that. I think that's kind of what's coming. But we had to spend some time with these episodes talking about Fisk. Really what's eating at me is Fisk. We talked about it last week that He's feels like he's trying to pull something in the background.
And he is.
And he is. But it also in the public eye is trying to do the right is doing good things for them.
Potentially. I mean, because when they even started talking about this trash recycling thing when his aide or whatever was talking to BB in the bar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's just going to piss the unions off because, I mean, New York is, I don't know firsthand, but from everything I've heard, is a very union, city and state.
Yeah.
So, that was the first thing I thought of. And then the next day it's like splashed all over that he's, trying to be a union buster. So, is he trying to do good things? Is he just trying to go, ooh, look shiny while he's busy doing something else over here?
Like keeping Adam locked in the dungeon while he eats his macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, that wasn't on the diet. That's not chicken breast and asparagus or whatever it was. He was egg whites and asparagus or whatever it was he was eating before. And now we know where he got the bloody knuckles from.
Yeah. That I suspected that was what was going on, especially this week when they started talking about like Vanessa's time with Adam and how neither one of them knows where Adam went. Although
he's just gone.
I think Vanessa suspects something, but I think so. I want to talk about Matt's. I guess he's locked Daredevil away to trust the system, to do the right thing.
I don't know why.
And he had to go see Frank. And because we got to see Frank Castle hanging out in a basement, like Matt's known where he's been the entire time.
Yeah, and what's up with Frank's face?
Yeah, it was cut up and bruised, so he's definitely still
out there doing something.
And I find that interesting that they haven't really mentioned him, in the news things about suspected drug kingpin, or not kingpin, that's the wrong word. Drug smuggler found with a gunshot wound to his head. I thought they would sneak that in.
I think it's just there are so many, I guess, wannabe vigilantes going on. I mean, people in BB's little snippets, man on the street interviews or whatever, it's obvious that people kind of put Daredevil on a different pedestal.
Yeah.
But they have talked about there are vigilantes, there are other vigilantes, the guy who is a spider, and so there's other vigilantes going on, and I think that Frank himself is just kind of in the wash, with all these other vigilantes.
Yeah. He is. I think Matt thinks of him as his darker half, because he talks about Foggy, and he talks about how Foggy was a pure soul and did so much.
Yeah. And
people like you and I, Matt saying to Frank, people like you and I will never have that ability. So
I think he just connects with him. Because Frank he did bad things for a good reason.
Yeah.
And that's what Daredevil does. That's how Matt, can compartmentalize it or justify it or whatever. So I think that he feels like they have a kinship.
Yeah, but
he's not just out there being a vigilante and just taking the law into his own hands. He actually has reasons or justifications for who he takes out.
Yeah, but Frank has no trust in the system.
Right.
Since we're talking about the system in this episode.
Yeah, the system definitely
and so
screwed him over.
It screwed him over badly, multiple times. And so he just takes the step that Matt, as Daredevil, won't do.
Right.
And that got pointed out about Bullseye, and they actually called him Bullseye in the episode instead of Dex or Poindexter or whatever. They called him Frank called him Bullseye, and Matt said he got life, and he's like, "What about Foggy? Foggy didn't get life.
Yeah, he got death.
So he gets to breathe air, and Foggy's in the ground.
Yeah.
Or is he?
I don't know. I think it's a flashback, but we'll see.
But the idea that Matt trusted the system multiple times, has had the system fail him, has worked for the system, gets it thrown in his face that he got something good for this client who was just trying to eat, and now he can't even, like, he's getting 10 days in jail for, stealing
Fiddle Faddle.
Fiddle Faddle.
I didn't even know they still made Fiddle Faddle. It's actually good.
We're going on a road trip apparently to New York.
It's good.
And then have him like I've explained that line, the delivery of that line of they'd rather spend more money incarcerating me than feeding me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coming from a black man who's had the system wedged against him, or built up against him for his entire existence.
Yeah, he did whatever 30 days or whatever, and it made him miss his Social Security appointment, and so then they cut his Social Security, and now he can't even make it on food stamps. And I mean, that's sadly there's hundreds or thousands of stories just like that. I mean, I've seen people go through that. It's like you try to take one step forward and you get pushed back 3 steps, and
they put up all these extra barriers in your way to just try to prove your citizenship, prove that you're actually a good citizen, like you're trying to do everything that you're supposed to be doing, and they just keep putting all this.
Kill bugs, you too can be a citizen.
Yeah. Oh, that fascinating. We can do a deep dive into that too. But Matt has slowly, in these 4 episodes, has felt the pull back towards Daredevil.
Right. And then we see that at the end, right? We see that him and Fisk, as much as they are either trying to convince themselves or others that they have changed, they have not.
Yeah. I really liked the parallels of that final scene with the two of them. That ultimately their nature is what they are.
Yeah.
And as much as they're both trying to do what they think is right for the people of the city and the city itself. But it's not working. The previous way was working for both of them.
Yeah.
Whether that's right on Fisk's part or wrong on Daredevil's part is not for us to judge, because they're judging themselves.
Right.
And so they thought that if they changed and did something the correct way, quotey fingers, for the podcast people, I'm actually putting my fingers up doing quotey fingers, then it should work, and it's not.
Yeah.
And so they're both feeling the pull of okay, well, I tried it your way, screw it, I'll do it the way I know that works.
And that's also, real, right? It's easier to just keep doing it the way that you've been. It's hard to change. And sometimes even impossible, which I think is where they're going to get to.
I think,
especially in this circumstance, there's too much, right? Because
Yeah.
you've got the cops, and I mean, I don't know what Fisk thinks he's doing, because, like, I don't know. It's going to get way too political. So just, I mean, there's too much baggage, there's too much history, there's too many forces,
yeah.
in that one little spot, in that one little island,
Yeah.
there's too much they'd have to just basically, nuke the whole island and start over again in order to fix anything. So
there's that additive. No, I can't even think of the right words. Adjective. That's a different word. Adage. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
And so both Matt Daredevil, Fisk Kingpin, and they both have tried to do it that way.
Yeah.
Like try to follow the system, eat it one at a time, break it down smaller and smaller bites until you can actually do some real actual good. And
except it's just an avalanche.
Yeah.
So there's no way
to do it.
Get through it fast enough without the next bad thing or the next bad group.
Yeah, and that bad thing is now bleeding some dude in the subway.
Right.
And I think that's going to be the dam break. Now, I thought it was going to be the Punisher fanboy in the cops that we've been talking about quite a bit. And even Frank pointed that out. And I still think that that's coming. I think that's going to be much more of what maybe season 2 is going to be with that kind of, or season 1B.
Yeah, because he tried to antagonize the cop that attacked him in the apartment.
Matt, yeah.
And and the cop was like, it wasn't me, and Matt listened to his heartbeat, and his heartbeat was not, beating faster, kind of indicating that he was lying. So, yeah, I kind of feel like it'll be there, but Muse is just going to come out into the forefront a lot faster, and they'll just continue to be like the graffiti or the because there's a lot of cops apparently that are part of this group. They've all got the tattoos and stuff. So yeah, that'll kind of probably be the underlying thing that's going on throughout maybe the whole season. We might not even get anything until like the next season.
Yeah.
But it'll still be there.
They've been saying that they're filming season 2 right now. Again, quoting fingers for the podcast side. But they've been saying that this is kind of like both 8-episode runs are the same season, so they're dealing with the same thing. It's not as season 1, season 2. It's season 1. Mid-season
intermission for snacks and to go potty
and Andor,
and Andor, and then we'll be back.
But I'm wondering like if the dam breaks with Muse, that's what brings Matt back to Daredevil. I mean, we're already kind of getting that leaning that way. He's already leaning into it as it is. He freaking took a swing at Frank and then apologized, and Frank was like, "What is wrong with you?"
Like crying the whole time.
But I think, especially after what happened with the Union Buster article that BB put out, and Fisk calling an all hands meeting and calling everybody out, and then Michael Gandolfini's character is escaping me. It's on. Of course, it's not on here because IMDb hates us.
The aide.
I cannot. David. I want to say it's David. Like David. Like. I think he was ready to kill him right there because that article puts Fisk so far behind the thing, and it was a hint that there's going to be something this is my projecting, that Muse is going to do something and it's going to make it look bad on Fisk, and Fisk is just going to finally snap on his side.
Yeah.
And he's going to call on Daredevil to help, or...
Yeah, I don't know if he'll do that, but he's definitely going to snap, because he already told the aide, maybe David, basically, if you ever do anything like that again, I'm going to kill you. I mean, he didn't say I'm going to kill you, but he said, that will be the last thing you do or whatever. Yeah. It's like, oh, that's pretty. Not that'll be the last time you work for me, or I'll fire you. Yeah. That's the last thing you're gonna do. So that's pretty final.
That scene was very interesting too, the way they shot it, because Vincent D'Onofrio is 6'2", and yes, he's slimmed down for this version of Fisk than the monster version that he was in Echo and in the series and stuff.
He is still. I mean, I've seen some current pictures. He's still wearing a suit. Vincent D'Onofrio is not that big.
Yeah. But they shot it in a way that Kingpin, whenever Wilson was on the screen, the Kingpin that we all remember, the big hunk and huge
big
dude,
shoulders,
was the full frame. And possibly David was always hunched over, even when he was understanding that he wasn't getting fired. He did kind of like stand back up or whatever. But then they did a face-to-face, and they made a point of having Wilson like a half a head taller than him. Now, I don't know if that's how they are in real life, but just reminding us visually that like the size and power of Kingpin, and I'm just waiting for him to have a snap moment. His conversation with Vanessa in the therapy session, he kind of like, I don't want to talk about Adam. Like, we're going to talk about Adam. Vanessa explaining why she was like kind of gravitated to him.
Yeah.
And you could see Wilson kind of fingers, kind of whatever. And then we get the scene at the end, like, that's where he's been releasing all of that.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately there's going to be something that happens where he's not going to have that release, and he's going to have some kind of explosion. Maybe possibly at David. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but
I think that he just made him, whether Fisk is thinking that far ahead or not, he just made him a bot man.
Which is what he did that final season of the X-Men series, of the Netflix series. He got a bunch of bot men.
Yeah. Just
either by buying them or bribing them or...
But this is even better.
Yeah.
Because, if you can buy somebody else can buy them for more money.
Yeah.
This is
undying loyalty.
Yes. So, yeah, I think that eventually he will be able to use him for other things.
Yeah.
Because this guy's really like worshipping at the altar of Fisk right now. He just doesn't think he can do it.
He already was.
Yeah.
He already was,
right.
And now he's even more.
Yeah.
Like, he had to have this like public mistake, and now Fisk forgave him, threateningly, but forgave him, and now he's blindly going to follow everything that he says.
Yep.
And that's going to be a very interesting thing, especially with his campaign manager, who kind of made the comment of, I've been here before Fisk and you, I'll be here after you. She might not make it through the season.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I think that somebody's going to be done dealing with her system. We have to go through the system kind of thing to kind of run it.
Well, and she made it very clear by saying that she will do whatever it takes to outlast them. And so if she becomes aware of Fisk doing things that he shouldn't be doing, she would definitely be the first person to throw him under the bus to keep her own position.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple other things I want to talk about. Hector's niece showing up.
Yep.
To see him, and Matt doing a good job. But like, no kid should ever have to see that because there's.
But you see her; she is fiery.
She is fiery. She also in the comics becomes the White Tiger.
White Tiger. Yep.
She gets the amulet and the suit, or a version of the suit, but she gets the amulet. So add that to the Young Avenger checklist. Check. They kind of hinted at her during the trial, but now they specifically made a
She's
point.
very angry with the cops, and it makes sense that his personal effects are going to go. I mean, they that was the opening shot was the person in the morgue putting all of his personal effects, including the amulet, in a bag. So that stuff will all go back.
And Matt had the bag, so
right, and it will all go back to the family. I mean, he could have just given it to her right then and there. We don't know because they cut away. So it's very possible that she'll.
One of the best scenes in all of superhero television is Frank interrogating Daredevil on the roof in season 2.
Yeah.
And they're back and forth about who has the moral high ground and who is right and who's wrong. And that whole conversation is amazing acting, amazing set piece. It's shot amazingly well. And we had a very similar, on the same level, one with Frank and Matt in Frank's man cave? Manager's office?
Office manager's office?
With Frank pretty much pointing out to Matt, you came here to ask for my permission to come back as Daredevil.
Yeah.
And Matt's like, no, I didn't. I came here. Here's the bullet. You have fanboys. You need to fix this. Kind of go, do your thing or whatever.
Right.
And Frank calling him out that he's doing it for Foggy. And he's trying to force him to say Foggy's name because even though in the last episode after they won the trial they talk about Foggy, it was more of a happy memory and not the memory of the loss.
Right.
This is this is Frank pointing a finger at Matt that you gave up the ability to avenge him because you felt the system was working and now you're realizing the system is not working. Say his name because you know that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
And just the back and forth and Charlie Cox crying and just holding back tears for the whole thing. And then John Bernthal is a great actor and he's in everything. He's in Christopher Nolan's Odyssey.
Yep.
With a bald head and a big ass beard. There was some shots of him at South by Southwest, and he had the whole thing going. But just that interaction between the two of them is just worth the omission of the service to Disney Plus. I mean, Disney Plus is amazing. You should get it anyways. But just for those two scenes, it's just worth it. And I'm really glad they did that. And then Matt with the addition to his staff.
Yeah.
I don't remember the hook on the end.
No, I don't either. It came apart. There was a chain.
And he used that to grapple with. Maybe that's the grapple cord?
Maybe.
But now he's doing actual
But he's got multiple masks. So even though he's not been Daredeviling, he's been
preparing.
Working on it because
one of them is the one he got in She-Hulk. That's the yellow and red one.
Yeah.
But then there's the gray one. There's
there was 5 there.
5, yeah. And that shot was from the trailer. So very interesting that we may get a different type of Daredevil who won't be afraid to take that Frank Castle step.
Right, because he won't be Daredevil.
Yeah.
He'll be
Night Monkey. Because we haven't watched that one in the rewatch yet. Just another great episode. We're very much closer to what we think the main story is going to be, which is going to be Muse and his terror on New York. The vignettes, the cuts to the trash on the side of the road, the people put the homeless pushing shopping cart, like all these little things that they set up in the first 2 episodes of here's New York as a character, and now they're specifically doing those shots, but showing plot details of what's going on with the story over here.
Yeah.
And the old guy sitting on the bench saying, "If I was young enough, I'd be a vigilante too."
Yeah.
We're gonna see him again at some point in time.
Yeah, because he was in a couple episodes ago saying, he'd pull out his gun and shoot somebody. So yeah, we've come back to him a couple times.
He's the new Stan Lee. I don't want to say that because that's not right.
No, he's like the sandwich shop guy in Spider-Man.
Yeah, I was gonna use the do a flip because he's too. In Shang-Chi and then he's in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man series too. So it's fun. So let us know what you thought of this episode and our discussion in the comments down below. Please be nice. That is a requirement around here. If you're on the Spotify side, rate, react, whatever. I don't know how podcasts work. Do all that stuff over there. If you're on the YouTube side, hit the subscribe button, the bell for notifications, and follow us on all of our social media stuff. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok. I am writing for the Geekiary. I have a new article probably coming out later this week about loving your fandom. And I might be at San Diego Comic-Con.
We will be at WonderCon.
We'll talk about that next week because we will be missing some episodes.
That's true.
So let us know about how you thought these episodes went in the comments. And until next time, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and comments. Look, it's a comment.